The galaxy had always believed Earth was nothing, a small planet in the corner of a spiral arm, far away from the great empires surrounded by dust and silence. To the alien powers who ruled thousands of systems, Earth was a curiosity at best, a primitive world of fragile creatures who barely touched the stars. But Earth had spoken once. Only once. The message had been clear, short, and carried on every channel the galaxy listened to. Do not cross the border of Earth's space. Do not test our silence. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. If you cross, you will never return. Most species laughed when they heard it. Some ignored it. Others thought it was just human arrogance, a desperate act to make themselves look stronger than they were. And so the warning drifted into the void, remembered only as a strange joke whispered in the halls of alien admirals, until one empire decided to test it. The Kelrath Dominion was proud, rich, and cruel. Their fleet was a wall of steel and fire built across centuries. Thousands of ships, each larger than cities, stretched across the stars. They had burned colonies, crushed rebellions, and broken dozens of species under their rule. To them, humans were nothing more than insects making noise. So when Earth's message reached their border, they chose to laugh. Never return? Their High Admiral sneered. We will return with human chains. We will return with their world burning behind us. The fleet gathered near the edge of human territory. It was a spectacle of raw power. Rows of warships stretched in formation, shields glowing, engines burning bright against the dark. Their weapons pointed forward like spears, their banners shining with alien symbols. Inside the command ships, Kelrath soldiers cheered. Humans? They mocked. They cannot even fight outside their own orbit. They crawl like children. They cannot stand against us. But somewhere in the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Some alien merchants who had traded near Earth's colonies spoke of strange silences, entire patrols that had never come back, satellites that blinked and vanished, ships that crossed into human borders never to be heard from again. The Kelrath ignored those whispers. They had numbers. They had weapons. And above all, they had pride. On the day of the crossing, silence fell across the stars. The fleet moved forward. Their massive ships cut across the void like blades. Thousands of eyes across the galaxy turned to watch. Would Earth fight? Would humans send their tiny ships against the Kelrath war machine? But Earth did nothing. No fleets rose to meet them. No messages were sent. Only the same warning repeated one last time. Do not cross the border. The Kelrath admiral smiled in arrogance. Fire engines. Advance. The first ships passed the invisible line that marked human space. And still nothing happened. Alien officers inside their warships laughed. This is the mighty Earth? Hiding behind words? Pathetic. But deep inside the minds of their younger soldiers, a seed of doubt began to grow. The silence was too perfect. Too heavy. There was no defense fleet, no distress call, not even a single human scout to watch them. It was as if Earth had already prepared the grave for them. Still, the fleet pressed forward. Thousands of ships blazing with pride. Far away in the shadows of their hidden stations, humans watched, silent, patient, their hands resting on weapons that no alien had ever seen before. The Kelrath thought Earth was weak, but Earth was waiting. The fleet crossed deeper into the border. Planetary sensors lit up as they swept through human space. Alien soldiers cheered again, proud of their advance. And then, the first shadow passed across their path. At first, they thought it was debris, a fragment of rock drifting through the void. But the shadow was too fast, too precise. It cut between their ships, leaving no trace. Alarms rang, but scanners showed nothing. The shadow had vanished. On the command bridge of the Admiral's flagship, nervous voices began to rise. Admiral, we lost contact with the scout wing. Admiral, the ship, it's gone, no signal, no wreckage. The Admiral silenced them with anger. It is human tricks. Nothing more. Push forward. But fear was already crawling inside the fleet. The second shadow came minutes later, then the third. One by one, Kelrath ships went silent. No wreckage, no screams, only silence. As if they had been swallowed by the void itself. Still the humans said nothing. Still no fleet appeared. Only the old warning echoed in the minds of the soldiers who began to understand too late. If you cross, you will never return. The galaxy held its breath as the Kelrath armada moved deeper into Earth's shadow. Pride pushed them forward, but silence wrapped around them like a noose. And Earth waited with cold patience. hidden in the darkness. The Kelrath fleet had entered Earth's border, but no battle came. There were no human warships standing in defiance, no fleets of resistance, no glowing weapons pointed at them. Only silence, deep and endless, stretching across the dark. At first, the Kelrath commanders called it weakness. "Humans hide like insects," they laughed. "They do not even have the courage to face us." But their laughter did not spread far. The silence inside the void felt too heavy, too unnatural. It was not the silence of emptiness. It was the silence of eyes watching from shadows. The Kelrath soldiers inside their ships began to feel it. Every scanner sweep showed nothing, yet the sense of being followed grew stronger with every passing hour. A nervous officer whispered to another, "We are not alone." But when their readings showed no ships, no satellites, no life signs, the admiral shouted in anger, "Your fears are children's stories. This is empty space. Advance and crush the humans when they dare to appear." Still, the soldiers could not shake the feeling. Some claimed they saw movement in the dark, like a flash of light, there one moment and gone the next. Others swore they heard strange echoes in the comms, faint whispers that were not human or Kelrath. Every time they tried to lock onto the source, the signals dissolved into static. The fleet kept moving deeper into Earth's territory, their bright engines cutting through the black. But behind their arrogance, unease grew. The humans had not moved a single ship, and yet something was happening. On the edge of their sensors, blips began to appear, small at first like dust, then more scattered across the void. They came and went, never staying long enough to be identified. "Anomalies," said one of the Kelrath technicians. "Maybe cosmic debris." But his voice shook. He knew it was no natural storm. The admiral dismissed the warnings, but the fleet's captains whispered among themselves. Their ships were disappearing, one by one, silently, without even a trace. In the lower decks, soldiers spoke in hushed voices. They told stories of Earth's hidden machines, weapons that could melt ships without firing a shot. They spoke of rumors from traders who claimed humans had captured alien technology, twisted it into something the galaxy had never seen. No one knew the truth. But the soldiers began to believe. The fear grew worse when the lights of a patrol ship suddenly dimmed, as if the stars themselves had swallowed it. One moment it was there, flying alongside them. The next moment it was gone, erased. No explosion. No fragments. Not even a shadow left behind. "Lost contact," came the whisper through comms. "They are gone." The admiral's voice thundered across the fleet. "No more fear. Keep formation." But his words no longer carried strength, because Earth was watching. In the dark, far beyond the eyes of Kelrath sensors, human stations hung silent, cloaked in shadow. Vast structures waited without moving, weapons armed, eyes locked on the alien fleet. They did not fire openly. They did not reveal themselves. They only watched. Humans had learned long ago that silence was the deadliest weapon. Let the enemy laugh. Let them grow arrogant. Let them step deeper into the trap. And so Earth watched. The Kelrath ships continued their march, but the silence pressed against them like an invisible weight. Alien officers tightened their grips on their consoles. Soldiers whispered prayers to gods they had long forgotten. The comms carried strange noise now, low hums, sharp cracks of static, echoes that sounded almost like voices. One soldier swore he heard human speech whispering his name through the static. Another claimed he heard the sound of metal tearing, though his ship was untouched. Panic spread like a shadow across the lower ranks. The captains tried to silence it, but fear does not obey orders. Hours passed. The fleet advanced, and then another ship vanished. This time it was a destroyer, a vessel with over 5,000 soldiers on board. It was there and then it was not, vanished. Screamed one voice on the comms. No signal, no escape pods. "It is gone." The admiral clenched his fists, fury boiling in his veins. "It is human tricks. It must be illusions. We are the Kelrath Dominion. Nothing erases us." But his words echoed back into the silence, and the silence gave no answer. For the first time, the Kelrath fleet hesitated. In the shadows, the humans smiled. Their patience was a weapon sharper than any blade. Every vanishing ship was not only a loss of numbers, but also a wound of fear that cut through the enemy's heart. The Kelrath did not know how many human eyes watched them. They did not know how many hidden weapons waited for the command to strike. All they knew was silence, growing heavier, darker, stronger with each breath, and still Earth said nothing. The soldiers of the Kelrath began to realize the truth. The silence was not weakness. It was power. The Kelrath Dominion had entered human space with pride, but that pride was fading fast. Too many of their ships had gone silent. Too many signals had vanished without reason. Still, the Admiral roared across the comms, forcing his commanders to obey. Advance! Push forward! They hide in shadows, but we will burn their world when it shows itself. The soldiers cheered weakly, but the sound of fear lingered in their voices. They had crossed the border expecting a battle of fire and steel, but there had been no battle. Only silence. And silence was worse. The fleet pressed deeper. Sensors scanned endlessly, but the screens showed nothing. No fleets, no weapons, no cities. Only empty space. Then, without warning, the first strike came. A bright flash lit the void, but it was not an explosion. One of the Kelrath cruisers simply folded in on itself, its hull bending as if crushed by invisible hands. In seconds, the massive ship was gone, pulled into nothing, erased before the fleet could even react. Panic exploded through the comms. Impact detected! No enemy ships, no weapons fire! They are killing us without firing. The Admiral clenched his teeth, his eyes burning. Find them! Lock scanners! Humans cannot hide forever. But no scanners found the source. There was no trace, no signature, nothing to aim at. It was as if the void itself had turned against them. The second strike came moments later. This time it was quieter. A destroyer at the edge of the formation simply winked out, disappearing mid-flight. 1 second it was there, engines burning bright, soldiers alive inside. The next it was gone. No wreckage, no escape pods, no cry for help, only silence. The Kelrath officers shouted in disbelief. This is impossible. No weapon can do this. They are erasing us. Fear turned to chaos. Ships broke formation, captains shouting orders, trying to flee or scatter, but the Admiral's voice cut through the panic. Hold formation. If you break, you are already dead. They want you to panic. They want you to scatter like prey. Do not give them the chance. But even as he spoke, another ship was taken. Then another. The fleet was being eaten alive, one by one, with no sign of the enemy. On the lower decks, soldiers huddled in silence, waiting for their turn to vanish. Some prayed, others cursed. Many whispered the words of Earth's warning as if repeating it would keep them safe. Do not cross the border. If you cross, you will never return. The Admiral tried to steady his fleet. He ordered sensor sweeps, defensive shields, weapon charges, but against what? There was nothing to fire at, nothing to shield from. The void gave them no enemy, only the sound of their own terror. Then the humans spoke, not with words, but with action. For the first time, the Kelrath fleet saw something move. A ripple in the stars like light bending. Cloaked figures, massive shapes, shadows of ships that should not exist. They were there for a moment, then gone again, hidden in the dark. The soldiers gasped. They are here! Humans are here! But before anyone could react, the third strike fell. This time, dozens of ships vanished at once. Silent flashes, no sound, no warning. Whole wings of cruisers gone in an instant. The fleet howled in confusion, but Earth stayed quiet. The shadows melted back into the void. Unseen. Untouchable. The Admiral slammed his fists on the console. His voice cracked with rage and fear. They are not warriors. They are phantoms. They do not fight fair. But deep inside, he knew the truth. This was not cowardice. This was power. The humans did not need to show themselves. They did not need to send fleets or armies. The Kelrath had entered their space, and now the humans were taking them apart piece by piece. It was not war. It was execution. The Admiral gave one desperate command. All ships, open fire. Fire in every direction. If they hide in shadows, we will burn the shadows themselves. The Kelrath fleet unleashed its fury. Beams of energy lit the void. Missiles streaked into darkness. Explosions shook the stars. For a moment, the fleet looked powerful again, their weapons turning night into day. But when the fire faded, nothing had changed. The shadows remained. The silence grew heavier, and then another Kelrath ship vanished. This time the Admiral did not shout. He sat in silence, watching the void take another piece of his fleet. His pride had led them into human space. His arrogance had told him Earth was weak. Now his fleet was being erased, and he did not even know how. The soldiers looked to him for answers, but he had none. For the first time in his life, the Admiral understood fear. The galaxy had mocked Earth's warning. But now the Kelrath Dominion was learning the truth. Humans had not spoken in arrogance. They had spoken in certainty. The warning was not a threat. It was a promise. The Kelrath Dominion had entered human space with a storm of fire and pride. Now that storm was fading into whispers of fear. Half their fleet was gone. No battles, no wreckage, no glorious fight to remember. Their ships had not been destroyed, they had been erased. The Admiral's command bridge was thick with silence. Officers moved like shadows, afraid to speak, afraid to even breathe. Every sensor sweep showed the same emptiness. The humans were there, but they could not be seen. The humans were striking, but no weapon was detected. "Admiral," one officer whispered at last. "What are we fighting?" The Admiral had no answer. His jaw tightened, his fists shook, but no words came. In the void around them, the galaxy's most feared fleet was breaking. Captains begged to retreat. "We must fall back, regroup," warned the Dominion. But retreat meant turning their backs to the silence. And no one believed they would live long enough to reach the border again. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Some believed humans had found a way to open doors in space itself, doors that swallowed ships whole. Others thought humans had made weapons so advanced that they could delete matter, as if erasing words from a page. None of them cared for the truth. What mattered was that death was coming, and there was no way to fight it. The next strike proved it. 10 ships at once vanished, snatched from existence in a single breath. Entire crews were gone. Thousands of voices silenced in less than a second. Panic swept the fleet. Captains abandoned formation. Engines flared. Ships scattered in every direction. The once mighty armada became a broken storm, each vessel fighting for survival alone. The Admiral screamed across the comms, but his voice was lost under the flood of fear. "They are killing us like animals," one captain cried. "We should never have come here," shouted another. On the lower decks, soldiers ripped off their helmets, screaming at shadows only they could see. Some fell to their knees, praying to gods they had long abandoned. Others pressed their weapons to their chests, knowing no fight would come, only waiting for the silence to take them. And the silence was patient. One ship tried to flee at full speed. Its engines burned brighter than suns, tearing space apart as it pushed for the border. For a moment it looked as if it might escape, but then it froze mid-flight, locked in place by forces unseen. Its engines flickered. Its lights dimmed. And then, in a blink, the ship was gone. There was no escape. The Admiral watched his fleet vanish, ship by ship. His pride was dust now, his arrogance broken. The Kelrath Dominion had always believed power was fire, steel and numbers. But Earth had shown them another kind of power. Silence, patience, shadows that struck without warning. "Admiral," an officer whispered, trembling. "What do we do?" The Admiral stared into the void, his eyes dark. "There is nothing we can do." And still the humans never spoke. No demands, no negotiations, no voices across the comms. Only the memory of their warning echoed in every Kelrath mind. "If you cross, you will never return." The remaining fleet tried to hold together, but the silence was already breaking them apart. Ships lost control of their navigation systems. Stars twisted and bent. Maps no longer matched reality. It was as if space itself was against them. Some thought they saw human ships in the dark. Vast, shadowy silhouettes larger than anything they had ever imagined. Others claimed it was only illusions made to break their minds. But when another wave of ships vanished, the debate ended. It did not matter if humans had ships or shadows. Whatever they had, it was unstoppable. Hours passed like years. The great Kelrath armada shrank smaller and smaller, voices disappearing into static one after another. Entire wings were gone. Commanders who had once shouted orders now screamed in terror before their signals cut off forever. The Admiral stood alone in his command bridge, staring at the stars. He had led the most powerful fleet his people had ever built, and now he was leading them into silence. The last message from a dying captain reached him through static. "They warned us, and we laughed. Now we are ghosts." The Admiral could not answer. He looked into the void and for the first time understood what the galaxy had refused to believe. Earth was not weak. Earth was not small. Earth was the final border, and no one who crossed it would ever return. The Kelrath Dominion had sent their greatest fleet into human space. Thousands of ships, endless soldiers, proud commanders. They had crossed the border with arrogance, laughing at Earth's warning. Now there was nothing left. The void where their armada once shone with engines and weapons was empty. No wreckage drifted. No blackened hulls floated. No survivors called for help. The fleet was not defeated, it was erased. In the galaxy beyond, empires waited for news. Traders whispered in hidden markets. Rivals of the Kelrath listened for the sound of returning warships. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, but the fleet never came back. The Dominion sent scouts to find them. Those scouts never returned. They sent long-range signals into human space. No answer came. Silence was all that returned. Silence, heavy and unbroken. And silence was enough. The story spread like fire through the stars. Earth warned them. They crossed the line. They never came back. At first, many laughed at the tale. It sounded impossible. A young world destroying the strongest fleet in the galaxy. A species that only just learned to walk among the stars, erasing entire armadas. Impossible. But fear does not need proof. Fear grows in the spaces where truth is uncertain. The Kelrath Dominion never admitted their loss. Their rulers claimed their fleet was still fighting, trapped in endless battle somewhere deep in human territory. But even their own people whispered in the dark, "The fleet is gone. Earth has swallowed them." Merchants began to change their routes. They marked human space on their maps, not with trade lanes, but with black borders. Do not cross. Do not enter. Captains told their crews to turn back the moment they saw human beacons. Children in distant colonies learned to repeat the words of Earth's warning like a prayer. Do not cross. Do not return. The silence had become a weapon sharper than fire. Inside Earth's hidden command stations, the humans did not cheer. There were no celebrations, no victory parades. The people who had erased the Kelrath Armada watched their screens in silence. They recorded the vanishing signals, logged the ships that disappeared, and then closed the files. To them, it was not victory. It was duty. Earth had warned the galaxy. The warning had been ignored. Now it had been proven true. For years after, rumors grew. Some said humans had built weapons that bent space itself, folding it like paper until ships were crushed inside. Others believed humans had discovered something older than the stars, a weapon not built but awakened. A few even whispered that Earth did not destroy fleets. They imprisoned them, locking them forever in a place without light or time. But no one knew the truth. And no human ever answered. The galaxy learned its lesson in silence. Whenever alien fleets marched across the stars, their commanders looked at the edge of Earth's border and hesitated. Their hands hovered above controls, their voices faltered, their pride withered. No one dared to test the warning again. The Kelrath Dominion grew weaker in the years that followed. With their fleet gone, their enemies pressed against their borders. Rebellions rose in the colonies they once ruled with fire. Their empire began to crumble, and Earth never lifted a hand against them. Earth did not need to. The silence had already won. On Earth itself, life continued as if nothing had happened. Cities glowed, oceans moved, people lived their lives. But deep beneath the surface, in bunkers that no alien had ever seen, humans waited. Their hidden fleets remained cloaked in shadow, their strange weapons ready, their eyes fixed on the stars. They were not conquerors. They did not want empires. They wanted only one thing, to be left alone. And the galaxy obeyed. Every empire remembered the Kelrath fleet. They remembered the laughter, the arrogance, the pride, and they remembered the silence that followed. Across the stars, when young soldiers asked their commanders why Earth was avoided, the answer was always the same. Because Earth does not give second warnings. And so the galaxy lived with the shadow of fear. Earth remained quiet, a world that rarely spoke, rarely showed itself. But that quiet was not weakness. It was power, cold and endless. The warning had been true. The fleet had never returned. And no one ever dared to cross Earth's border again.